It's a big week in Destiny for a lot of seasoned veterans who were around back in the day during the Black Armory because the Blast Furnace is back. And she's even more beautiful than she was on the day that we lost her. You can acquire this thing through Onslaught and redeeming tokens at the chest next to Shaxx. And Bungie did something special with the perk pool on this thing, and you've got a lot of options here. And on top of that, the base stats open you up to combinations you don't typically see because you're too busy compensating for innate weaknesses on the weapon. But the Blast Furnace is basically a monster right out of the box. So when it comes to like tacking on aftermarket modifications, the sky's really the limit here. This pulse rifle is a contender for being the best PvP pulse in the game, and you can really tailor make it to your liking. So in this gameplay, you're going to see footage from about half a dozen different roles and combos, and I'll start unpacking everything you need to know about this monster of a weapon. Let's get into it. One of the first things we need to establish is a baseline, so let's talk stats. Now, I'm going to do some comparing here to things like the Disparity or the Belisarius. Disparity, because it's another kinetic pulse rifle. It's also a 4-round burst, aggressive burst fire, family member. Disparity is also craftable, so a lot of people are going to make comparisons there. They're like, why do I need a blast furnace if I can tailor make the Disparity to my liking? I'll also compare it to things like the Belisarius, because that's a strand pulse rifle from Comp, so it goes in the same slot of the same family. And right out of the gate, though, the Blast Furnace, it's got 79 range. And that's a ton more than Disparity's 65, right? The Blast Furnace has more than 2 full meters of extra range before experiencing damage drop-off. That is a pretty big deal. When it comes to hard-hitting, slow-firing weapons, the last thing you want to do is leave someone with just a little bit of health after 2 full bursts to the head and extending your TTK by 50% as you have to go in for another burst. It's not a big deal on like automatic weapons, but when you don't put out as much lead per minute, it really starts to affect your performance when you're at that damage threshold range. The Belisarius is close to the Blast Furnace's range, but it still has a little bit less at 77. But the kicker here is really the range and the stability combo on the Blast Furnace, right? The Disparity has 59 stability, the Belisarius 55. So Belisarius really struggles to hit consecutive headshots at those faraway targets. Even though its range is really high, the stability is extremely low. So it makes those really deep encounters pretty tough to get that 2 burst. Disparity feels like a pretty good pulse rifle in terms of firing it, but it's got bad range and mediocre stability. But the Blast Furnace has the best range in class and the best stability at 64. Legal action may as well be a Nerf gun in comparison with 62 range and an abysmal 48 stability. Blast Furnace beats out the Insidious as well in both categories. I mean, the 2 things that matter the most on a hard-hitting pulse rifle are range and stability. And it's the best of the best in both places, so it's really hard to argue with that. But we continue with the stats here, and we see that the Blast Furnace also has 24 handling, which is low. But you're probably not jumping around trying to ready the gun quickly while moving erratically. So it's really, I think, a non-issue. It's not really the kind of playstyle that this weapon is really designed for. It's got 36 reload speed, 42 aim assist, 18 zoom, and a recoil direction of 65. Now that's important. All the other pulses of its kind have recoil directions that are a lot harder to work with. We got numbers like 67, 74, 78. Being able to get Blast Furnace to a more manageable and controllable recoil is much simpler. I find with the set recoil patterns right now, I like the 95 recoil pattern on it. I think it's the easiest to manage on the Blast Furnace, and that's just 1 arrowhead break barrel perk away. That's it, super easy. It's also going to bump your handling up if you have that arrowhead break perk. It's going to bump your handling up by 10, which is also helpful because that's the lowest stat on the gun anyways. We don't really need to focus on getting more range out of our barrel anyway because we've got a huge leg up on the competition as it is, so we don't need like Hammer Forge or anything like that. We want easy and predictable recoil. You'll notice some solid 2-burst kills in the gameplay with that 95 recoil direction. The mag size is nice too at 39, enough for you to comfortably get 3 kills before reloading if you're 3-bursting most targets. So just in the base stats alone, the Blast Furnace is exceptional, right? It stands out. It's a head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. it's shattering the competition in that area. And I know people are going to ask about the Messenger, even though it's a different family of pulses. It's still an amazing pulse rifle in the kinetic slots. People want to know, how does it compare? It can also two burst, so why would I use Blast Furnace? So to me, right, the difference here is that the Blast Furnace still outranges the Messenger by almost 2 full meters and has much better base recoil than the Messengers, which pulls noticeably up to the right. The base recoil on the Blast Furnace is still pretty vertical. So getting the Messenger in line means sacrificing range and stability perks. I find Blast Furnace all around to feel extremely usable and consistent. And I'm a Messenger fan. But let's get into the perks on the Blast Furnace. Here's where things get really fun. There are definitely some PvE combos in here. You know, you got Kinetic Tremors and Firefly or One for All. But quite honestly, this isn't really a PvE gun. I think you can use it in PvE, but it's really kitted for PvP. And in the first column, you've got some great perks here too. Normally with pulses, we tend to go for a stability perk in the first column, and we want a damage perk in the second column. And we can do that for sure here. We've got, you know, in the first column, Perpetual Motion, which grants stability, handling, and reload speed after moving for a few seconds. We've got Zen Moment, which is easily S tier, best stability perk in the game. And we've got Keep Away, which indirectly grants stability through giving additional range since the two are linked. Of those three though, Zen Moment is the clear S tier winner. But interestingly enough, we also have Head Seeker in this first column. That's a damage perk. And that means if you wanted to double down on damage and kill chaining, then you've actually got that option. So in the background gameplay, there's some footage of Head Seeker alongside Frenzy, as well as Head Seeker alongside Rampage, and you can see those numbers getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's super fun to see those damage buffs stack to absolutely delete people sometimes. Now in the second column, we've got Desperate Measures for an additional 10% damage after a kill, just like Rampage, or plus 20% after a melee or a grenade kill, so not a bad option really. Then we've got Rapid Hit, always a great raw performance perk for pulse rifles, but not common to have in the second column. Usually it's in the first. So that means you could actually like double down on stability. You could say, I want to run Zen Moment and Rapid Hit together. And I do in fact have that roll, which is super smooth to shoot. So much easier to get those two bursts. Then you've got Rampage, 10, 21, and 33% damage buffs based on how many stacks you have. Low floor, high ceiling on those percentages. But the thing you have to remember is that this pulse rifle can two burst without any extra damage. So stacking damage on top of it is really just going to help with reliability and forgiveness. You won't need to hit as many headshots to get that two burst kill. Just one stack of Rampage is already going to move your headshot damage up from 30 to 33, meaning it's a 7 bullet kill. So you've got a full bullet of forgiveness built in there. So in terms of the difference between Kill Clip and Rampage, there really isn't a lot. Like Kill Clip will take you up to 38 damage per bullet. So at best, you're looking at a 6 bullet kill with a, against a lower resilience guardian. But a higher resilience guardian is still going to take 7 bullets to put down. So the difference between the two on paper is big, but in practice, it really isn't. With Blast Furnace having a big mag and slow reload speeds, you might actually prefer to run Zen Moment with Rampage and a backup mag mod to just full send on kill chaining without having to stop and reload after each individual kill. That's the rule I'm still chasing, actually. I have Rampage, but not with Zen Moment. The role that I have over 200 kills on in just one day is the Zen Moment kill clip roll with Arrowhead Break, a Stability Masterwork, and I use Flared Magwell, which I actually really like on this thing because it really helps with that reload speed and gives you a little bit of a bump to stability. And that roll is exceptional. But I'd really like to try the same roll, but with two things swapped out. I would like Rampage instead of Kill Clip alongside Zen Moment. I still want Arrowhead Break and a Stability Masterwork, but then instead of Flared Magwell, I would like to have Extended Mag on it so I could get, well up into the 60s, like 60 plus bullets in my mag, so I can just keep friggin' firing and chaining those Rampage kills. At the end of the day, here are the things that you really need to know about the Blast Furnace. It's the best 4-round burst aggressive pulse rifle in the game in terms of base stats. It has the best range, the best stability, so getting those 2 burst kills, much easier to do. It has the best stability perk in the game in the first column, and several damage perks in the second column, including the best damage perk. It's basically just the best plus the best plus the best plus the best. It's like Superman compared to the rest of the Justice League. It's like, why are you other guys even showing up anymore? You may as well retire. Blast Furnace is the Superman of the aggressive pulse rifle family, and it's here to stay. Get your hands on a good roll, circle back to this video, let me know what you think. I doubt mine will leave my inventory anytime soon. Thanks so much for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like, as that's the best free way to support the content here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for additional Destiny 2 content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.